I'm going to show you a makeup look using only palettes, and these are my favorite palettes that I'm using currently. And as you can see, my base is done, brows are done. I'm really focusing on eyes and kind of like, I was going to say base, but base is done, but like everything on top of my base. So I don't have any bronzer or blush on. I just have my base, which is set. But I am going to show you how you can kind of like brighten it using certain palettes and how to create a really, really amazing eye look. I think you guys are going to love this eye look because it's something that I love as well, and it's actually quite easy. So first thing we want to do is just get rid of this mascara because I've been out and about today, so I'm just going to take it off. And I just want to actually quickly tell you how I take my mascara off. I just kind of wrap a wet wipe. This is if I'm wearing mascara and I want to redo my eyes or change my eyes into something else and I don't want to do my whole base. So what I do is I get my wet wipe, wrap it around 2 fingers, and then I basically try not to touch the skin, but I press the lashes in between, and then I just hold there. Don't slide or rub because you don't want to be kind of like harsh on your lashes, but you just want to kind of like press it there. And then after you've pressed it for a while, just like side to side, and it will glide off. Obviously, if you're using a waterproof mascara, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. But I'd say that any mascara that is not waterproof is going to be really easy to do. So let me just do this and we can get right into it. I mean, you look like a crazy person when you're doing it, but honestly, I just feel like it's like the easiest way to transition into another look. So now that that's done, we can get on with everything that we're going to be doing. Before I actually do the face, in terms of like, you know, like basically highlighting the face, chiseling a little bit of blush, making my skin look more alive, because I actually feel like at the moment it's looking pretty flat, looking pretty basic. And I want to show you like what I do to really kind of, well, like I said, just make it a bit more kind of like alive. There's a bit more to it, you know? I thought I'd change my hair today. Actually, I didn't think I'd change it. I just could not be bothered to do it. So I kind of just blow dried my fringe and then let it go. So first things first, I want to show you my favorite eye palette. My favorite eye palette, which I didn't think was going to change, and I definitely didn't think it was going to be this one, but it is the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, but the Neutrals palette, because I actually really was obsessed with the original Master Mattes palette, but this has really taken its place because I just feel like it's not warm and it's easy to do an everyday look. I love it. So I'm going to show you a really stunning look using this. I'm going to use my BK Beauty 202 brush and shade 6. So I'm going to just take this on the tip of the brush, take off the excess on the back of my hand, and then I'm going to go into just the crease here. But I don't want to go all the way in or all the way out. I just want to kind of like keep this kind of in the middle, just create a little semicircle here. So just go side to side, but don't go too far up because I don't want it to like cover the whole brow bone. And I also want it to be quite subtle, so nothing like too dark. Which is why I would suggest picking a color which is just a touch darker than your skin tone. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that on the other eye. So you can see it's really subtle. It isn't something that is really kind of like making the whole area look really dark. It's almost just kind of giving the eyelid a little bit of shape, just so that it kind of like brings out the shape of the eye. Okay, I'm gonna get my BK Beauty and Nikki N11 brush. Now I'm gonna go into 10. And I'm going to press into that, press once on the back of my hand, and this is where I'm going to kind of like create a thick, rough line all the way across. And I'm going to start from the outside and just press close to the lash line. And you don't have to worry about kind of like any flick or anything, yeah. Just go really close to the lash line, like as close as you can go. And honestly, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be jagged. It really doesn't matter. It's just a really easy look that you can do. See how like I'm not really fussed about how neat it is, and I flipped the brush round every so often, so you want to kind of make sure that you're using the tip of the brush, so the flat part of the brush, which is right at the end. And then you also want to make sure that when you're working on the outside part of the eye, so closer to the edge of the lash line, you want to flip it so the highest point is pointing towards that side. And when you're working on the part of the lash line which is closer to your nose, you want to flip it so that the highest point is pointing towards your nose. That way you'll notice that because it's angled, it fits a lot better and glides along a lot easily. You just won't find it so difficult. It won't be so, there won't be much friction. It's like it kind of just molds against the shape of the eye, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So now that we've done that there, we're going to go in with another brush, but there's not going to be anything on this brush. This is my BK Beauty 207 brush, and all I'm going to do now is just basically flick into the lash line. You can go a little bit to the side if you want, but mainly into the lash line, so that you're kind of like smudging that line you've just done. It's just getting rid of any harsh edges. Now when you get to this bit at the end, we're just going to like lift upwards and outwards just a little bit. Very short flick. We're not taking it too far out. We're just kind of making sure that it just kind of like gradually fades out. You're not going full, you know, full on out. So that's all that is there. It's super easy. We're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. So take that first shade, which is 10, and we're going to create like a rough kind of line here. Don't worry about it being perfect. There you go. I'm going to take that brush, make sure there's nothing on it, flick towards the kind of like in towards the lash line or a little bit to the side. I always feel like going towards the lash line just makes it easier and you're not taking it too far out then. And then this end bit, we're just going to bring it out a little bit, just a very like mini flick, just so that it doesn't look like it's too round. I guess if you want your eye to look a little bit more elongated and like lifted, you can bring it out as far as you want. Right, now what we want to do is really define the lash line, so we want to create that slight gradient effect. I'm going to take that same brush, that BK Beauty and Nikki Rose N11 brush. We're going to go into 12, which is a kind of matte black. Take off the excess on the back of the hand, and now we are going to do the same thing that we did. So create that line, doesn't matter if it's jagged, but we want to create it a lot thinner. So we don't want to make it as thick as it was. It needs to be as close to the lash line as possible, definitely much closer than this one, so like not being as thick. So you want to really focus on tight lining, and what that means is you're really pressing on the root of the lash, but you're not trying to create a thick line. You're just trying to kind of just really get into the root of the lash. There you go. Can you see that's already a lot more defined there? We're going to take that same brush, make sure there's nothing on it, and we're just going to go side to side or into the lash, whatever you prefer. And again, just drag that bit out a little bit. There you go. That's given it a lot more definition. You can already see the difference there. So we're going to go ahead and do that on the other side. Again, tight line. So you're going really close to the lash line. There you go. Get the brush, make sure there's nothing on it, side to side, and then just take that out at the end a little bit. That's it. Now what I want to do is just go back into that black, and I just want to basically give a little bit more kind of darkness along the end. So this is where we are going to create a very little mini flick. Gonna get that brush with nothing on it, and we're just gonna drag it out a little bit. So you can make this as big as you want and use your finger if you want, if it makes it easier. I want to just give it like that traditional kind of flick. I don't want it to be so feline, but I just think it's gonna look really cute with this whole look. I'm quite liking that. I think that's really cute. It's just like this really nice kind of lifted look, but it doesn't look like it's super like feline. Now I'm going to use a mascara just to add, obviously just finish the eye off, and obviously that cannot be a palette, but I'm going to use my Hourglass Caution Extreme Lash Mascara because this is such a good mascara. So I'm just going to wriggle around in the root and then drag it out. I just feel like this gives you like super long lashes. See what I mean? Super long. So we're going to go ahead and do the other side. I really like this eye look because I feel like it's really easy, but it's really kind of effective. Like it really does look like you've probably spent a lot longer on it. And it's like, you know, that kind of look where you're like, wow, how did you blend that? It's that kind of look, but it honestly is the easiest thing to do. And I feel like this is a really good way to kind of like just kind of transition your day look into an evening look. By the way, a word of advice, if you are kind of transitioning a look and you're going from like, you're keeping the same base on and you're maybe changing your eye makeup, I would highly recommend not adding any eyeshadow on your lower lash line because that can end up making you look a little bit more tired. So I would really focus on trying to brighten the area, really focus on trying to brighten the area, which is I'm actually, why am I missing out words today? Today it's not a case that I can't say it, I'm just missing out the words completely, which I am going to show you shortly. So now that we've used that first palette that I absolutely love, I'm gonna move on to the base. This is where I'm really kind of like, I'm liking this whole fringe situation today. I think it might be something that I do a little bit more often. I'm gonna be working on the base now to refresh it and brighten it, just really highlight in certain areas and show you some of my favorite palettes because there's quite a few here. I'm gonna be using my new Hourglass Evil Eye Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked palette. This is the most amazing palette. So I'm gonna use the shade number 1, which is a finishing powder, and it's called Soft Light. So that kind of like helps to just brighten up the area. So what I'm gonna do is take my BK Beauty and Nikki Rose N14 brush. I'm gonna dip it into this right here, and I'm gonna just brighten up the under eye area. And I really do like this because I feel like it's just such an easy way. Can you already see that? It's such a good palette to like use on other areas. I feel like a lot of us with these kind of ambient lighting edit palettes, there's so many of them. Sometimes I feel like we just assume, okay, it's just the blush, it's just blush, bronzer and highlighter. But actually there are other things in there that you can use in some of the palettes. And I didn't really read the back of it until recently. And I was like, okay, because I looked at the actual shade that I'm using now and I was like, this actually looks like something I could use to brighten up certain areas. And then when I looked at the back, I'm like, ah, it is actually a finishing powder, which is pretty cool. So I quite like that you've got that in there. I mean, look, it's already brightened that whole area up. And then I want to take it just on areas that I want to highlight. So like my chin, my forehead here. And that's just going to lengthen that whole area. I just really like how it just immediately brightens up these areas, and I just feel like it looks very pretty, doesn't it? Okay, now I'm gonna use my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Base Brush. I had to Google that because I can't remember what it's called because I don't have the numbers or name on the brushes. But I like this because it's double-sided and you've got like a slight kind of like domed pointy brush and then a flattish round brush. So now I am gonna use a different palette to kind of like sculpt that, like certain parts of the face. This is actually the new Hourglass and Barney's New York palette, which you need to get hold of because it's iconic and you have to have this as part of your kit. Like just generally your makeup collection. If you have a tendency to go for the Hourglass palettes, like I know a lot of people collect them, this is definitely a collector's edition. Like it's something I would highly recommend. Obviously it's amazing inside as always. So you've got this really nice kind of like finishing powder in there. You've got two like what I just used, but you've got one which is like a little bit brighter and the other one is a little bit just not as bright. So you've got soft light and then you've got a dim light, which I think is a really good idea. But I really do love the bronze shade in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the slightly pointier side and I'm gonna dip into the bronze shade in here. And I'm now gonna just kind of like shape my face using this. I only want this along my cheekbones and my jawline, by the way. I just think it's such a nice, like all of these palettes are so nice. Okay, underneath my jawline, just a little bit. it's actually pretty amazing how I'm transforming my face. Okay, now in terms of blush, I want to go into my long time favorite palette, which is my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked Tiger. It's the Tiger palette. So I'm going to be using the same brush, but I'm just flipping it over and using the kind of slightly rounder, flatter, the slightly rounder, bigger brush side. And I'm going to use the shade Burnished Glow here, which is this really nice kind of like, I won't say tangerine, it's like an orange, but it's like a really nice orange. And I just want to add this right up here. I mean, look at that. How nice. Oh my God, this color is so good. I just feel like these palettes are just underrated. I just like that kind of like really subtle pop of orange that comes through. I'm just gonna get a tissue and just kind of like brush off the products from that brush on both sides. I'm gonna use the pointy side, which is a slightly smaller side. And now I'm gonna use the highlighter in this, which is the Divine Strobe Light. So I'm gonna go into that. And this is where I'm just gonna go on the peaks of the cheekbone. I really have to make sure that I don't really go along the area that I have a lot of texture. So it's really the top part of the cheekbone there. Can you see that? Any lower and I'm just enhancing texture that I have. I haven't put highlighter on in ages, and that's why I was feeling this whole look today. So I'm just gonna go on the tip of the nose, a little bit on the chin. Those are my favorite palettes when it comes to like doing my eyes and my face. Like those are my go-to palettes. And I know that I've used a few different kind of Hourglass ambient lighting palettes. There's just so many different names for them. I just call them all ambient lighting palettes, and I just the rest of it I just literally call it whatever's on the cover of the palette, which actually is the name anyway, so yeah. But I use a lot of those because I feel like there's so many good colors in all of them, and I feel like there's so much you can do with it. So I just want to remind you, it's not just for your face and like as in blush and bronzer and highlight. It is also like there is finishing powders in there in most of them. So I feel like don't forget that, because a lot of people use that as like highlighter or they just skip that and leave that part out. Like there's so much more you can do with them, including adding them on the eyes if you want. But I really wanted to show you my favorite palettes, and this is like, if I wanted to kind of be, you know, try and sell you anything, to be honest, I'd use like a different one for each thing. But honestly, I just wanted to keep it real. These are my favorite palettes. This is what I use, like if I'm only focusing on kind of palettes, using them. So I wanted to share that with you. I'm kind of happy with this look. I do feel like I need to add something very quickly onto the lips, just so that it doesn't like, you know, just so it finishes it off. I'm thinking I use a gloss. I'm gonna use this because I feel like it goes really well with the blush that I put on. This is actually the new Giorgio Armani Prisma Glass. I think it's Prisma. This is 03 and it's like really nice. It's like this kind of like oil, but it has good stuff in here as well. But I really like the color that it leaves. It's not too bright, but it's also like super comfortable on the lips. I just like to blot once so it's not like in your face. That is more or less my look done. I just wanted to show you very easily like how to like kind of like separate it, because a lot of the times I show you right from the beginning the base, everything, and then by the time you get, you know, we've done the base, you might just want to see how I kind of do everything on top of the base once the brows are done. So I thought, why not change it up a little bit this time? So that's why base was done, brows were done. It's really just a case of the eyes and the base finishing. So like, how do you brighten the base? And maybe you guys are fine with doing your foundation and your base. So you do your base as normal, but then what do you do to brighten it, sculpt it, add some color, highlight it? Like, what do you do then? Which is why I really wanted to have this video so that it's really focused on those points, and also like doing your eyes, because you, like I said, you might be comfortable with the base already. But hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you do want some more videos like this, let me know. You know, when the base is already done and you want to see how do you, I don't know, do a certain eye look or create a certain look on top of an already done base. Because you could have any kind of base. How do you turn it into a specific look. Do you see what I mean? Because if I name a few looks for you, like you have like a dewy look, you have like a, I don't know, a smoky eye look, you have like a sultry look, a really fresh daytime look, it doesn't always mean that the base changes with all of those looks. Sometimes it can be exactly how it says, like your base is your base. It's the base of everything. So the base is done, and then we work on top of that, and how can we then create a certain look? So let me know if you want to see more of that, because I think it's quite interesting doing it that way as well. It just gives you the option, I guess. You know, you're always going to get those full tutorials from me, but if this is something else that you want to kind of see, maybe I'll mix it in a bit more with you. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and don't forget, I do have an online publication called the Beauty Breakfast Club, which is a community that we are growing rapidly. So head on over and join the community there. You have 2 versions of subscription. One is free, which gives you access to most of the site. You get 3 newsletters a week, or 2 if you opt for the free one. And I write everything myself. It's basically an online magazine, which is primarily about beauty, but also I throw in some health, lifestyle, style, just hot topics, thoughts. You know, there's a lot of conversation going there, and everyone's involved in it, and I would really love to have you there. And also there's the paid version, which basically is the equivalent of getting yourself 1 coffee a month, and that gives you access to the entire site, so also an extra newsletter a week, and also a chat room where we can chat. So I think that's pretty cool. So I'd love to see you over there. If you have any questions, ask me over there. And I also have another YouTube channel, which is NINAUBHI Vlogs, which is a mixture of vlogs, but primarily my podcast, which I host with my husband. It's very relatable. I think you're going to love it, so head on over and show your support there too. The vlog side of it kind of like shows you behind the scenes of like my job, what I do. Like, so I take you away on these like influencer content creator trips that I go to, a bit of behind the scenes when it comes to makeup. And it just tells you a little bit more about me, I guess, because what you get here is this side of it, but there's so much more that, well, there's so much more to me other than this, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Either way, I'd love to see you on any of these platforms. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button, because that means you'll never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care, and I'll see you soon.